Decorators are special functions that return other functions, and they're used to modify the way that a function works. There's a special syntax for using decorators in Python. Let's take a look at how that works. We'll make a working copy of decorators.py. We'll call it decoratorsworking.py, and we'll open that up. And we see we have our duck example here. And this one has a properties variable that's getting set by the keyword arguments. And it has a way of setting properties and getting properties. And down here we've set a property in our constructor, and we're getting that property in this print function. So if we run this, we see that we're printing out that color. Now, one of the most common uses for decorators in Python is to create accessor methods for variables. For example, if I wanted special accessors for color, I could define a function called color and configure it like a getter. So I'll return self.properties, get color, and with a default value of none. And what turns this into an accessor is this decorator function that looks like that, with an @ sign and the word property. And that turns this into an accessor for the variable called color. And then I can create a setter by saying @color.setter and def, and I name it exactly the same thing, color. This is all special syntax that's designed just for this purpose. And I set an argument, and we'll call it C, and we'll set self.properties subcolor equals C, and now we have our setter. Finally, color.deleter, def color again, and we'll delete self.properties sub.color. And what this allows us to do is this. I can say Donald.color equals blue. I don't need to initialize it here anymore. So if I save that and run it, we'll see that it still works the way that we want it to. And here I can just say Donald.color. Now, this might look like I went to a lot of trouble to just be able to use a property that I could have just used without all of this trouble, and it would have set the property in the object and read the property from the object. But the beauty here is that now it's under the control of the object. And so if I wanted to do something else in here, when I set this, if I wanted to save it to a database, or if I wanted to create a database based on a file name, which is an example of how I've used this recently. And then in the deleter, if I wanted to close the database based on that file name. So now I can do all of those things, but I still have this convenient syntax. So this is the most common use of decorators, and this is a little bit of the power of decorators as well, is that they can fundamentally change the behavior of a function, because here I've got function methods which are operating as setters and getters, but I'm not calling them as functions. I'm calling them in this simple normal property syntax. So that's the power of decorators, and that's a simple example of how you can use decorators in your objects.